Hi, I'm Gail Minogue, the numerologist who usually talks about numbers. And today I wanted to just talk about the next couple of years, the year 22 and 23, moving forward into the number 2, which is the feminine number and part of the change. But this is all about the collapse of the current system we're under. And it's been going on now for some time, few years, but no one has really noticed that it's collapsing. You know, we started out as a country, beginning of the 1800s, we became under what we'll call the age of Earth. And so that's always designated by more authoritarian building, control over the Earth. We were able to make great advancements in industry, the steam engine, inventions that follow that, and also advances in medicine. You know, we came out of the Civil War. Everything was about conquer and progress and control of the earth. And so now we've reached a point where that period is over. And in it, we created a system of government where we have people who we said, you go be our representative, you go represent us, and we'll work with you. Well, unfortunately, now it's reached the point where these representatives now represent the corporations and the lobbyists who back them. So we can't get certain things passed. Now, the good part of that is we've advanced as an industry into the next phase, which is called the age of air. And that's where we are now. So each age takes a couple of hundred years to go through. Now, the age of air is extremely different than the age of the earth. It isn't control over the earth. Look at what we did to the earth while we were advancing. We basically destroyed it. We now have this horrible situation with climate change around the world. We're still sending out plumes of methane and all these things are part of this old period that we have to try now to halt, correct. Whether we can do it or not will depend upon a lot how this society will even be able to go forward and live. So we are now at the point in our growth where we are finishing up something called a Pluto Return. It only happens every 240 years, and America had it happen. And so this is the end of that Pluto Return. It will end in 2024. And this is why that old system, this is the time that the old system would begin to die. So if you want to look at a time when the collapse began, it began in 2008. And it's only exacerbated and made much worse what's going on now because it's come to a head. Corruption is coming out everywhere. Social media promotes lies and statistics. And, you know, it's very different living now in this kind of environment where it's going into madness and delusion and illusions. This will take a few more years to get through, and it will take two more election cycles before you're going to see the close of it, which means 2024 and 2028. But the next year will be one of the harder years to get through, and no matter who gets elected, the old system is dying. If whoever gets elected continues on the old way, they will not last. They will not be able to build what they want. And even this Build Back Better idea is still built on the old system. So I don't hold much for any of these. Either party will be moving on. And it's really kind of like we are meeting the barbarians at the gate. And here we are. So the Western world, as we know it, Europe and America, are in decline. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting time period as to how we resurrect ourselves and what is the Aquarian Age, which is an age of air, which began when the United States was born. What does that really mean? It means leaving aside superstition, fear, the crazies, all of this kind of stuff, the corruption, and going into a society that is more people-oriented, more enlightened, more reasoned, more culture. And that's where we're going, not to the control over or the destruction over. There's a very, very different time period. And there are no leaders right now that embody these principles. Okay? What are these principles? I'll name a few. Fairness. Wow, what is that? Equality, humanity. And they talk about it, but it's a lot of hot air. They just talk about it. They don't do anything. And the system is too corrupt right now to produce the leaders we need. So we have to move them out, move them out. So whoever comes in 22, which is in between these big election years, it really doesn't matter. They'll try to control their way and it won't last. And then 24, they won't last. And it has to go through 2 more presidential cycles to come to the point where the people are in control, where you have more reasoning, more enlightenment, more culture, less destruction of the earth, more remediation of the earth, all of that. So it's a very challenging period. And at the end of the 20s, I would anticipate you're going to see much more of what we'll call constitutional amendments. We've talked about them. How would you do it? But right now you can't do anything because it's too corrupt, it's too exposed, it's too caught up in the old. It's not yet reached a point where we can start to change. That's going to start in 2024. So 2022, not fun. So I'm sorry to leave you with that happy note, but we'll continue on as things change. I'll report back in and give you some examples of what you're seeing and why. And I'll look forward to talking with you again. You can always visit me on my website and reach me at gailminogue.com. Thanks for tuning in.